We are live on pride48.com. This is DJ Starsage, and you have just heard the entrance of Madame Sue. Hello, Sue. How are you?
I'm fine. And yourself?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. We'll get underway shortly here. Have you had a chance to log into the chat room, my dear?
No, I haven't.
Oh, would you be able to do that?
I do believe I can do that. Just a moment here.
Like being in the kitchen here. I've got so many things on the screen. I do believe that we have a few people already joining us. It looks like possibly we have Toppy Smelly and the Shy Yeti, not necessarily the arrival order, but we do have a small theater here.
Okay, well this is good. We also have a live theater at my house.
Oh yes?
Okay, and I did not type the right address.
Uh-oh.
Because that's not what I got here. Let's try it again.
So let's see. I was just telling the chat room that it's been overcast here, and we've had a few scattered showers out here in not quite Apple country. And it appears that it is currently about 65 out.
Okay, I still didn't do this right. Oh, I got a DNS. I got a DNS search.
Did you go to pride48.com?
I thought I did. pride48.com. That does indeed say where I'm going. Oh, here we go. I got Pride 48 home. Yes, I've been having technical difficulties all day.
It's unfortunate that it's the Duchess's assistant's day off.
It's true.
But then again, you do have to give the help a day off now and then.
Now and again, we do have to do that. That is true. Okay, now let's see.
The labor minister gets frowny when you don't.
That is also true. Okay, I seem to have found Pride 48. And now if I can find people besides naked folk, chat.
Wow, what show are you on? That's not us. That's the later show.
It's a later show, and actually he was only half there. It was just a naked chest. Okay, Here we go.
All
I can log in.
So since we don't have anyone on after us immediately, we could, of course, wander a little bit. So.
This is probably good.
We have some background noise going on behind you. Can you silence the dogs?
I think I can. One moment, please.
Sure.
Can we turn this down a little? Yeah. Thank you. Yes, I told you we have a live. Okay, it says I need a password here. Do I really?
No. You probably went to the new chat room.
Oh yes, I did. Is that wrong?
I'm using the.
I'm going to the old chat room. If that. Oh, look at this. This is much better. Choose a nickname. I will just put down Sue.
So I just let the folks at home, so to speak, know that it's going to be a few moments and that we would entertain them otherwise.
Oh, okay. That is a good thing. Okay, I have them now.
Woo!
Look at that. There's several people here.
Yes.
Besides the two of us. Look at this. We have Toppy and Shy Yeti and Sun. No, that's Sue. Excuse my reading, guys. I'm very blind. Dante and X3. How's that?
Yes, it says that they're idlers, so they've probably been signed in a little while. But it looks like as Toppy and Paul have said, they are the funny uncles of Pride 48. So we are in good company.
Well, this is good. We can always use funny uncles. Oh no! Are we testing our software?
Our toys, yes.
Yes. Okay. Let's
Do you have everything you need? Are you still logging into things?
I think I have everything I need, not necessarily in the order that they are supposed to be set up, but I do.
We're still getting a little bit of interference in the background.
Can we turn the movie that they were watching is almost over.
Okay. It's just faint, so that's nice.
Okay.
So, folks, we should be underway anytime now. We're just going to give this a couple more minutes. Like I said, there isn't anyone on the schedule right away after us, so consider this the opening act.
Well, yeah, that would be good. Oh, that's the wrong program here. You are testing sounds today.
I sure am. The Joker.
And you are testing them individually, it looks like, or it sounds like.
Yes.
Oh, that was wrong. I just closed that, and that was a bad thing. I just closed my notes.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Danger.
Hey,
oh, definitely. Who's in danger? Who's having danger?
Whenever the Duchess loses her notes.
Danger.
Oh. Well, yes, that is dangerous.
Oh, hey, I think your notes have arrived.
I hope so.
So this should be a somewhat a cup of tea episode. It's been a little while since the Duchess and I had a chance to sit down and catch up with each other. We've had a couple of episodes in a row where we were accompanied by guests. So this will be sort of an in-between show. Coincidentally, we have in the chat room the two fine folks that will be joining us for our next recorded episode. But we'll talk about that a little later because, it's always good to tease a crowd.
It's true.
Put away those chips, please.
So can you still see me? Despite the fact I have thousands of things in front of you.
Let's see. I am just going to switch over to you. Okay, now remember we are live on YouTube now.
Yes.
And
for anybody I have an additional assistant here.
Okay. So I think, I posted the link to our YouTube page in the Pride 48 group. So for anybody who wants to view our video, that is there. We're trying this out for our first time.
Ooh, this is good.
Just flew out the window.
Uh-huh.
Let's see here. What else do we have? Oh, I got to fix that door.
It's true. Oh, I don't have Evernote open.
And if you'll tilt your screen down somewhat.
Oh, there we go. How's that?
Yes.
Okay.
Although not quite so much of the girls.
That there better?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, they're delightful animals out there.
Yes. It seems that the Imperial Zoo is nearby.
It's true.
I think we should have a couple more minutes and we'll be ready.
Okay.
So as I was saying, it's been overcast here and it's been sprinkling on and off. And for darn shame if I have a lawn that hasn't been mowed.
Uh-oh.
But, the rain has sort of been doing us a favor in that regard.
Well, it will need to, if it's sprinkling now, it's going to need to be mowed even more.
Quite true. We have some guests coming over I'll talk about in a little while here. Do you think we should be ready shortly?
I do believe so.
Okay. So we're just going to chitter chatter the afternoon away here, and as our post said, we would like for you folks to drop by before you head out on your busy social evenings. So we are certainly glad that you were able to join us, and this is a monthly thing for us. So you'll be able to find us here every fourth Saturday on pride48.com. And from here on, the video will be available at youtube.com for our live episodes.
Sorry to interrupt, love, but did you know there's a crack in your bathroom ceiling?
And the Duchess is just finishing getting things together here.
It's true. Okay. Uh-oh. They're landing.
Let's see if we can find the appropriate landing.
Oh.
Oh no, behind you.
I was going to say, I thought everyone had left.
Well, Toppy says that the former VP was at Pickle Hollow today. He was a guest at Cromwell.
Oh. Okay.
Exciting.
I'm not sure I quite understand that.
The university. He was there for the commencement.
Oh. Oh, well, yes. They get to do things like that, don't they?
They sure do. Do you have what you need just yet?
Not quite, but I have a sample of it.
Okay. Do you think we should be able to get underway?
Yes, we should.
Okay. I'm just going to buffer the warnings that we have here, so stand by.
Okay.
Okay, so away we go.
There's a place just out of reach where we go to escape an enchanted land of far away nearby.
Out in the faraway nearby, can you hear my call? Out in the faraway nearby, I'm breaking down the wall, still you're here to stay. Out from the faraway.
And welcome to the Faraway Nearby. I'm your host, DJ Starsage, and I am joined by the Duchess Sue.
Hello.
How are you, Sue?
Not too bad. I am getting better by the minute.
Well, that's good. It's been a while since we've had a chance to have a cup of tea and sit down and have a little chat.
This is true.
So we are just going to while the afternoon away and find out what's going on in each other's lives. Let's see here. So alrighty. Well, since it's been a while, we usually start off with talking about the high points and low points of our weeks. We call that our peaks and our valleys. And we just may need a moment here. Sue, do you think you'd be ready to talk about how your weeks have gone?
I certainly am.
Okay, so let me do this then. If I can find it. So, Sue, how have you been? What's new?
Well, as you know, my kitchen ceiling fell in a couple weeks ago.
Oh, no.
Yeah, didn't I tell you about that? Well, it did.
Mhm.
And it fell in about 2 o'clock in the morning. And of course, the Duke and I were still up because we tend to be up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, sometimes till 4, but we aren't supposed to be up that late.
Well, the late show runs elsewhere than New York.
But apparently, the water has been leaking from the kitchen sink upstairs for some time. And I think the water has been leaking through our kitchen sink for some time as well. So I can hardly wait until our floor drops out and just under the kitchen sink and drops all that stuff down into there, into the people below. But they came and fixed it Monday. So we have sort of gotten the kitchen pretty much cleaned up and the plaster off the floor and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is cleared up. And like I say, I'm dreading when our ceiling falls in, or our floor falls into the people's ceiling below us. But I don't know there's much I can do about it. It does look like it leaks from time to time, although it looks like it's been patched recently, like just before we moved in.
Right.
How
Now,
good the patching is, I'm not sure.
for those unaware, the Duchess has described her abode a couple of times, and I think I remember you saying that it is an older building. It was
It is
made.
an older building. It was built in 1927. It
Oh.
is like an apartment building that was built in
Mhm.
1927. There aren't many of those in this area. As we get further out west, we tended to have more land and fewer people moved out here. And you people stuck on the West Coast and the East Coast don't have near the amount of space we have. We have land out here, and
Yes,
we
Purple Mountains
are
Majesty.
currently trying to take away all of the farmland and fill it up with houses so that you won't have anything to eat, but we'll have great places to live out here.
It's funny you should say that because just as we're recording, the farmer is plowing the field behind my house.
Oh,
And
you live in upstate New York, so you've got a little
Yes.
bit of.
Well, and when we bought our house, they made us sign one of those waivers that says, I acknowledge that I live in farm country and I'm not going to hold the realtor responsible for certain aromas.
Oh, that's an interesting thing.
Well, in the 80s, we decided that we love to sue people, but each year we wonder if it's the last year that field's going to be plowed because the field continues to get smaller. So you were saying about your kitchen, that's been taken care of, and I think you told me that a while ago there was some news going on with your extended family there. Your granddaughter had moved out of the house, moved away from home for the first time. Duchess, are you there? It seems that we may have lost the Duchess. Let's see if I can get her back. Pardon us, folks, technical difficulties. Let's see if we can get the Duchess back. Okay. I will just while away the time as we wait for the Duchess's return, and we will see what we can do to recover her. So we've actually had quite a bit of good luck. Um, this actually is, I think, maybe the first time that we've lost our connection to each other, or at least it's been a while.
It's
Come on.
true. Are we connected now?
Yes,
I have
we have you
green
back.
lights, and okay, so I was gone and you weren't.
That's quite all right. The wolf is warning us that your 5 minutes has
Okay.
passed, but that's quite all right. We're going to keep going on here. So I was saying that each year that the farmer plows the field, we're wondering if it's the last year because that field seems to keep getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah, that happens to fields. I imagine, especially back east where you have a multitude more people than we have out here.
It seems it at least.
I am pretty much in the middle of the country, and we don't have a lot of people.
So I was saying before we were so rudely interrupted that not so long ago you'd mentioned that one of your granddaughters had left home for the first time. How is that going?
Well, as far as I can tell, that's going okay. Mom and child are getting along well, and big sister is spending more time with me, but that's okay. I need more time spent with me. Can you
So
actually see me? Because I'm seeing a website picture on.
I'm seeing your avatar, so you have your camera turned off.
I have my camera turned off. Okay, how did we do that?
You just have to go up to the top there and click your little camera symbol.
Up to the top of. Yeah. Try that. Okay, how's that? My green light came back on.
Okay, yes.
Okay, yes, that looks more like me. Yes. And
So,
I'm having instructions from an
that's quite
expert here.
so you were saying that one of the Grand Duchesses has left home for the first
Yeah,
time.
the youngest one has moved out.
Yeah, and I understand that her sister was missing her quite a bit. Is that working out okay?
Yeah, that seems to be. Like I said, she's spending a little more time with me, but that's okay because I need more. Need more interaction with real people instead of televisions and books and stuff like that. I get a lot of that.
You're not having a virtual parenting experience?
Well, not really.
Literally there.
Not really. I got my daughter when she was 16, and I took care of the grandbabies when they were little,
Mhm.
and they lived near me, and Mama Bear was going to school and doing things like that, and so I've had all those experiences I needed.
Yeah. So, you also told me that the Duke had a change of career. He's no longer at the Imperial Motorcade.
This is true. He got to the point where he really couldn't stand on his feet all day anymore. And so he quit his job. And oddly enough, after 4 years working at the Imperial Motorcade, he found a job relatively quickly.
Now, as I understand it, you were saying that he's working with Mama Bear's group. He's at
He is?
at the Imperial Railway now?
Yes. No, he is not. He is working with a different area. He is working.
okay.
He is working supporting, doing tech support for money people.
Oh, okay. So he's with the Imperial Financiers.
Yes, that would be them.
Gotcha. So we'll have to see if future reports have an encounter with the Dark Lord.
I don't think that's probably likely. Although
Many forms.
they have, this is like the third time in like 8 years this company has changed hands.
Oh,
I am getting a complaint in the background saying this is not the third time, but she doesn't realize that originally it was owned by Perot.
Oh, okay. So, Duchess, just a costume adjustment I was going to ask for. If you
Yes.
lower your microphone slightly,
Oh, so
then
you can see my face?
yes.
Okay. Next time I'll put some powder on my face so I don't show up like I'm a white ghost.
That's okay. You're backlit. I'm not. I'm sidelit.
Well, that's probably the whole difference, is you think?
Well, if I turn on the light behind me, it's a Morgan Freeman experience. I like to call it the God light. So
Oh,
I have a window and a light on over to the side.
well, I'm not sure where the light's coming from the kitchen and somewhat from my right side,
Mhm.
but apparently
And
not
it's
enough.
earlier there, so you're going to have sun for longer.
This is true. It will be sunshiny until even after we've said goodbye.
Hmm. So so far is the Duke enjoying his new position with the bean counters?
Well, he has had the job for 5 days,
Ah, okay.
so it's not exactly a long time.
He's still figuring out where the break room is in the water cooler and all that stuff.
I assume he he is not real thrilled with this, but he is still in training.
Mhm.
He has done some of this kind of work before, and it
Okay.
is similar to the work we did when we were in Denver.
Uh-huh. So, I know that you had said one of the reasons he left the Imperial Motorcade was that it wasn't agreeing with some of the conditions he has. He has some physical ailments. Now, is this he's going to be sitting at a desk?
Yeah, he at the at the motorcade or whatever we call it, he was on his feet for 8 hours,
Mm-hmm.
and here he is sitting at a desk, much like the desk you were sitting at, or I am sitting at, with much the same stuff in front of him: a computer, a headphone, um, and talking to people
Mm-hmm.
and saying, "Oh no, that must be your computer's problem, not ours."
Sounds familiar.
I was going to say, don't you remember saying that to people?
On and on and on again.
Yes,
And as we say, that was another lifetime ago.
it was. It was indeed. But
So, for
and I
those
am
of you,
so pleased I no longer have to do that.
yeah, I do something similar, but at least now it's not with customers.
Mm.
I'll talk a little bit about my position in a moment here, but before we started, you asked about the hat that I was wearing today.
Yes, well, we had talked about those privately some time ago.
Hmm. So we're working on props for the show, folks. I've decided that DJ actually is a short form of a nickname, and it is the Duchess's Jester. So DJ is short for Duchess's Jester, and of course, I'm wearing a jester's hat. So, much alike the Shy Life, where Toppy and the Shy Yeti had a fictional childhood together, there is a backstory to how the Duchess and I became acquainted. Now, would you like for me to tell that story, Duchess?
I would.
Okay, so imagine it. No, not picture it, Sicily. Imagine a young Duchess growing up in a far off land and marry a child nearby. Under the guidance of the royal family, they decided that the Duchess needed some company. So one summer for her birthday, they decided to hire an entertainer. And that entertainer was, of course, a jester. So we'll work on the backstory there, but I think it goes something like the Duchess met this enchanting, dashing man who wore a funny hat, and they grew up together. And even though it's many years later now, every time the jester puts on the funny hat, they're transported back to her youth.
Oh, that's I didn't like that.
So, the story shall ensue from there. So let's take a look in the chat room. It looks like we have a new arrival. We have a Mib. So if whoever you are, Mib, please let us know. You can change your name and have your presence be known. I'm not quite sure what the command is. Both of the fine gentlemen in the room have experience, so they should be able to know. But
It's true, and I'm trying to figure out what I did with the chat room.
the Shy Yeti says that was a good story. I'm reminded of the one of the later seasons of Doctor Who when Matt Smith was the lead, and they did a special opening.
Oh, here, I found them again.
Excellent.
The chat room, that is.
So, so unlike in years past when the opening was simply the music, they did a special narrated opening for one of the last seasons of Matt Smith as the Doctor, and it was so endearing because they had the actress playing his companion, Amy, doing the voiceover, and basically she told the story of meeting this man who crash landed in her garden, the Raggedy Doctor, and they traveled and had adventures together. So I'm kind of inspired by that opener for our show. And actually, before we move on, I will go ahead and fill you in about what's going on with me. But we have a new group on the Facebooks, or the Face Space, as some might call it. I've had a little learning experience when it comes to the Facebooks. Apparently, when you have a page for your business or your program, it's basically like creating a web page, and with all the fine folks over there seem to think that it's a money-making opportunity, so they decide who gets to see your post. So regardless of whether or not you liked the page, you may not be getting our posts. So to that end, I've decided to create a Facebook group for the Faraway Nearby. And in the spirit of our characters and the charm, I've decided that it's going to be called the Treehouse in the Courtyard, because, of course, a young duchess who's bound to home wouldn't be allowed to play outside the gates of the palace. So, of course, we had a treehouse in the courtyard.
Wonderfully.
So
I like that a lot.
So feel free, if you haven't already joined our Facebook group, to look for the Treehouse in the Courtyard, and you'll get all of the updates about the Faraway Nearby. So, alrighty, well, we will go ahead and move on to my week. And let's see here. Where do I begin? Well, quite a few things have happened. The other month, I was coming home from work, and my nearly 17-year-old car decided it was going to complain a little bit. Momentito, por favor. We have to plug in.
Uh-oh.
Okay, I had the cord on standby there, so yes. Someone with an older car would tell you, of course, the saga of a car owner is betwixt between the expenses of repairs versus a car payment. And in reality, really, there's not much difference. If it's manageable repairs, certainly a car that you own, or maybe a used car, might be more affordable. But anyways, in the long run, my 17-year-old car decided that it had had one too many repairs. The other year, I drove over a curb, and I needed to have I think it was a sway bar, I'm not sure, one of those parts that attaches the axle to the vehicle.
Hmm.
I had to have that fixed as well as a radiator. And I didn't mind that because it had been a few years since I'd had a major repair and I was getting good gas mileage. But unbeknownst to me, since I had an older car, this is one of those repairs that the mechanic had no choice but to, forgive the term, jury rig it, because this is a part that you cannot buy off the shelf. It's a part that is installed at the factory. So it attaches your axle to the body of the car. And when I got home from work, my husband was concerned. He wanted to make sure the car was safe. So Billy crawled underneath with his cell phone and turned on the light and took some pictures. And unbeknownst to us, when my mechanic had saved the car, he had welded those parts together and the welding is coming apart. So, um, ironically, just a couple of weeks before, we had just made an hour-long trip to our area's biggest shopping mall, a new monthly trek that we've been making to get out of town for our weekends. But, we're lucky that it didn't happen while we were on the road coming back, because come to find out, if that welding had come apart, that car could have flipped and we could have landed in the ditch.
Oh
So,
my God.
yeah. My husband was very keen to point out that fact because, of course, I just wanted to get it fixed and drive my car to work. And he took pictures and he showed me, and he's like, "No, you're not driving this car again. Period. End of story."
Yeah.
So he worked his magic, and much as he did with getting us the house, he sold some of his ex's toys that his ex didn't reclaim. So spoils of war being what they are.
Yes.
But he worked his magic, and although we hadn't been planning on getting me another car for a few months yet, we were able to fast track that, and we bought me a car at a rental place. So it was actually quite a deal, and I got a brand new, at least to me, 2016. So since it was a rental, technically it didn't have another owner, and I've got this fancy, shiny new car.
Well,
So I
well, this is real. This is real sweet. It's not real new, is it? It's sort of new, like our new car was new.
Well, it's a 2016, so it was new as of last fall.
Oh, it is real new. Are you the first owners?
Besides the rental agency, yes.
Oh, it was from a rental agent. And well, that's not bad. They sell their cars about once a year.
Right.
They don't.
And it was from a southern climate, so it doesn't have any rust or wear or anything like that, and it's fairly low mileage. So I was thrilled because now I was complaining before about having manual locks and windows on my economy car. Well, now I've got all the bells and whistles. I've got locks, I've got
Ooh.
windows. I even have a stereo with Bluetooth.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And the best thing about it is it gets 42 miles a gallon. So I am just thrilled.
That's even great. That's
Yeah.
much better.
I complained that one of my woes of buying a car is that I thought that in this day and age, it's somewhat irrational to get a vehicle that you have to fuel twice a week if you live within a reasonable distance from your work. And I just cringed every time one of my peers or coworkers would talk about this nice new car they got, but they were getting pretty crappy gas mileage. So I am more than thrilled, and I always name my cars. I think that it's good luck, just like christening a ship. So because I'm a big Star Trek nerd, I decided that my sleek little black car is going to be named Gamora after Captain Sulu's daughter.
Well, that seems reasonable. You name all your cars?
I do. My very first car was Sylvia Gold because she was silver, and because she had recently been in a fender bender with a deer. They had replaced one of the panels and hadn't quite painted it yet, so that part was gold. So she was Sylvia Gold because she was silver with a gold panel at the time.
Ah.
And then, of course, my second car is named after one of my favorite characters in a Goldie Hawn movie, Protocol. Her name was Sunny Davis. And, that's a character that ended up running for office after she had an experience of saving the president's life, and then basically being a war bride.
Hmm.
I highly recommend that you see Protocol with Goldie Hawn if you haven't already. It is a very charming film, as are many of Goldie Hawn films. But
Yes.
so moving along here, more of what's been going on. Well, we had a death in the family. I don't want to go into too much detail, but basically, a member of the family that was close to my brother passed away, and I went to go visit my family for the first time pretty much since the holidays. Now, what was awkward was that my brother Jughead, as I call him, decided in his frustration that he was going to share a text message that his ex-wife had sent to him. And I just thought to myself, this lady is grieving. I didn't need to see that. I don't think she meant for me to see that. But of course, he felt it necessary to share that with the rest of the family. So it just kind of set the tone for the event. And I get down there and I see several members of my family, including an uncle that has sort of been estranged because when her grandmother passed away, I still owed her money from his student loans. He had gone to seminary school and he didn't end up finishing his program because his wife did not want to be a pastor's wife. So
Yeah.
the inside story is that it's alleged that this uncle, who I call Chris, owed our grandmother money. So there are several members of the family who aren't fond of him. Although I tend to think that whatever went on between my uncle and grandmother was between them, because that's a mother and son relationship, and you never know. He could have been the apple of her eye, and that was the thing that excited her most, was helping him. So,
Well, yeah. And did your mother, or was this mom or dad's brother?
it's my mother's relation.
Okay. So was your mother upset with him?
When at the time,
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
well, he's my mother's younger brother, so I think that there's a certain level of forgiveness there. That young people do stupid things, and in this case, she wasn't really in a position um, to be upset with him because I don't talk about it much, but my mother was the one driving the car when my grandmother's life was taken.
Oh.
So,
Oh, she had enough things to be upset about anyway.
right, and part of the disharmony with this uncle is that some of my relations seem to think that he said unkind things to our mother because she was at the wheel.
Mm.
And I say that that's a number of years ago, and people say things they don't mean in their initial reactions. That's what grief is. You react.
Yeah, and there's no telling what people will say at the time of some at the time of an accident. People say all sorts of stupid things.
Yeah, and it doesn't help matters any that this was in a small town, so of course, small town people have illusions of grandeur. And the journalist who wrote up the piece about the accident thought they were going to be a big city journalist, and they had lots of pictures taken. And one of the pictures that was put right on the front page with this article was one of a body bag still in the vehicle.
Oh my God. Oh,
Yeah.
Not only did the journalist have bad taste, but so did his editor, obviously, and who was probably the owner of the paper.
Yeah, so I mean, like I
Um,
said, small town people with big town aspirations. We
yeah.
had our doubts about whether or not that was the body bag at the time, but my aunt asked a few questions, and she found out from a family friend who happened to be a law officer what color the body bags are that are used for that county, and it
Hmm.
confirmed her suspicions.
Yeah. Well.
So, but anyways, this uncle showed at the funeral despite being omitted as one of the survivors of the relation. And I was sort of happy about that because although the uncle is sort of an oddball, I think that every family has someone that you have something in common that you maybe got your tendencies from. And I
Hmm.
like to think that this Uncle Chris is my funny uncle, the one that I got my nerddom from. Because I mean, after all, he managed Radio Shack stores, and he used to watch Doctor Who when he came over. So he
Yeah.
was my gateway.
Yeah. You might have thought it was
So
even more funny if you'd actually become a pastor, but
well, he I guess he although he never got to become a pastor, he still is quite active in his church, and he's a musician, so he performs at some churches. So he's a fun person to be around because as we say in my family, um, are the two parts of the two lines of our parents um, different. And I like to think that I take after my mother's side because I'm more apt to be the one, looking at a paper or something. My favorite picture of my grandfather is one of him sitting in his living room in his reading chair with the paper open and his glasses on. And whereas my brother's family are more of the type to be driving commercial vehicles across country for a living.
mm,
So, but anyways, rounding this up, um, we also celebrated an anniversary recently, Billy and I. So we just celebrated our 8th year of being together. I've mentioned before, but I'll tell the short story of how we met. Basically, I was staying at my sister's house when I moved back to New York, and Billy was living in a town that my grandparents had when I was little. So if it hadn't been for his ex, we possibly wouldn't have met because his ex's job took him out to the country. So we were close enough that we were able to meet for coffee before going to a movie. And of course, in this scenario, we ended up missing the first showing of that movie. So we went next after we went shopping. And then after the movie, we went to dinner. So that first date ended up being 9 hours.
well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we kind of relived the experience of our first date with one of our monthly trips. We went to the area's largest mall, and we've been doing this thing where we go to a healthy restaurant. Um, it's called Core Life, and you get this huge bowl of food. It's basically a giant salad, but it's somewhat exotic because they have all these flavorings like lime and lemon and Italian and all these things. It's a very health conscious restaurant. So you come in and you can see the calorie counts on the menu before you make your commitment. Decide, if this is your cheat day. And of course, afterwards we go out and have ice cream, but it's a healthy ice cream, Halo Top. But so it was our 8-year anniversary. We went out, and we're hoping to go out in a few weeks here, possibly to see a movie. Now, I'll talk about movies later if we have time, but or rather, upcoming movies. We went to see the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie as part of our anniversary trip out. And aren't you itching to know how that movie was, Duchess?
Well, yes, I am.
Have you had the pleasure of seeing the first one?
No.
Okay. Well, it's a cute story. Now this is more so Billy's thing because it is of the comic book realm,
Hmm.
but Guardians of the Galaxy are a ragtag team of characters who are heroes in their own right that come together through a series of events. And
Mhm.
of course, they focus on one of the main characters in the first movie. Basically, he's a human whose father was an alien and he was abducted. And that's how he meets the other aliens that are part of this team that joins together to fight good and evil and whatnot. This second movie, we get to meet the main character. His name is, oh shoot, it's Peter Quill. Peter Quill is Chris Pratt's character in the Guardians series, and Chris Pratt is considered to be somewhat of a heartthrob in the movie world nowadays. He's a success story too because he lost a boatload of weight. He was a heavier person and he lost weight for this role, and he shocked
Ooh.
a lot of people because, they said, you can't be in this role. You don't have the right body type. And he said, basically, watch me. And you can find him on Instagram, and one of the things that he's known for is sharing the foods that he eats, because people think, look at how in shape that guy is. He must be starving himself. And
Mhm.
so he likes to show pictures of him eating so that people know, no, he does eat, and he'll tell you about what he's eating.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like the journey that Billy and I have been on with losing weight. The one thing that keeps you going on this is making it exciting. You think about all the things that you miss when you're not dieting or
Mhm.
before you started to diet, and you think to yourself, well, how can I have that still? There's got to be a way I can have this even though I'm watching what I eat. So that's something that Billy really enjoys doing because he will reinvent things. One of the things that we've had recently was mac and cheese, but it was made from cauliflower. And this is really scrumptious. I mean, there's a bazillion recipes out there if you look up cauliflower mac and cheese. It's just like how you can go into fancy grocery stores and they'll have chopped up the cauliflower into what they call cauliflower rice. Um, if you steam it and
Okay.
make it tender enough, you can chop it with a fork. But you basically put all these seasonings in together to make it taste cheesy. And you can even put in some fat-free cheese with it and do seasonings. But if you do it right, you approximate the texture and the taste, and it's actually pretty good. Last night we had that for dinner, and I cleaned my plate.
Well, it's
Um,
probably pretty good depending on the cheese you use, the amount of cheese. Of course, the amount of cheese you could put enough cheese into something like that to 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 run those calories right up.
oh, sure.
But if you use a reasonable amount of cheese, and I've never run into cauliflower rice. I'll
Now,
have to look for that. That's not something I've seen in our stores here.
now, I know in Denver they had Whole Foods. Do they have them in your neck of the
Oh,
woods?
yes, they do.
Okay. And they weren't my regular store when I lived in Denver. They're a little pricey, but
They
uh,
are a little pricey. As a matter of fact, I there was a woman that worked for she wrote a blog for the Denver Post,
mhm.
and I saw her refer to the Whole Foods as the whole paycheck store,
Oh.
which I think is pretty accurate about it. Uh, I love Whole Foods. It's wonderful. It was one of the places I shopped when I was forced to be on a gluten-free diet,
Uh-huh.
because at that time there was nothing anywhere that was gluten-free, and so you had to go to special places. And I went to Vitamin Cottage a lot, and I went to Whole Foods a lot because both of those places carried uh, they kind of specialized in the foods that odd kinds of people could eat. And one of the things they had was gluten-free stuff a lot.
Hmm. I know it was a moment ago that I was talking about my car, but I'm just looking back in the chat room, and we've been joined by a bunch of other people. We've got
It's true, we have. I meant to mention that. I keep looking back at them. Of course, I am like leaning my head down so you can't see my face because I cannot make the type in the chat room any bigger.
That's quite all right. I was going to read something that RT Cruiser had mentioned. He said he had a Hyundai that he called Cher after a few years. He said it was an accident magnet. I got Cher after 2 nose jobs and a bum lift. And
Yeah.
you know, she was just on TV at 71. She still got it.
I was going to say she's still looking. The last time I saw her, she was still looking pretty good.
Of course, if I had her money and my troops, I probably would look that good too at that age.
Well, it can be done even if you don't have the money that she has, but she put up with an awful lot in her life to get there. So,
Oh yes.
oh, and my
Duchess
transport's
is
coming.
Yes.
they passed me by today.
The paramedics have a thing for the Duchess. She just hasn't learned to let them down gently yet.
It's true. they buzz by several times every day.
Well, if you just wouldn't leave that window a crack, they wouldn't think you're playing Rapunzel.
Oh, well, that could be.
So, well, let's see, where was I? Oh yes, so Guardians of the Galaxy was actually pretty cute. Kurt Russell was in it playing Peter Quill's alien father. So I won't spoil it for anyone because, of course, it's only recently out, but it was a fun movie. Some people think that it wasn't as good as the first movie. I'll leave that up to you. I will just say that it was a fun movie. But, hopefully when we go on our next trip, we're going to go see the new Wonder Woman movie, and that looks fantastic. I don't know if you've had the opportunity, but you should go onto YouTube, my dear, and look up the trailers for Wonder Woman because they've cast this beautiful, I want to say she's Greek woman, Gal Gadot, in the role of Wonder Woman, and they've set it in World War I, I believe, instead of World War II. And Chris Pine, who has played the new Captain Kirk in the latest Star Trek films. Bear with me.
Yeah.
Okay, that was our previously scheduled alarm. But yes,
you want to lean forward a little more, DJ. You have disappeared into the light, and you look pretty white. That's better.
Let me see if I can fix that. My curtain is open.
Well.
But
if it were closed, that would be much. Well, that might be a little dark.
That's okay. You'll get used to it.
That's better. That's much better. You look really wonderful, like a glowing angel or something.
So it is just after 6 o'clock. Normally we would be wrapping up, but
it's true. But since we started later.
Well, and then there's also no one on after us on the schedule until 7 p.m.
It's true. So we have all the time we need.
Yes, but before we get too much further along, I thought that I would go ahead and talk a little bit about something that's coming up. The Pride 48 has a June streaming event that will be occurring next month, and it is from Friday the 23rd until Sunday the 25th, and we have a little promo here, so I'm going to go ahead and play that.
Okay, that would be good.
The wait is finally over. It's time for the Pride 48 Summer Live Streaming Weekend to fill your ears. Listen to all your favorite podcasters streaming live for your aural pleasure.
What?
Aural. A-U-R-A-L.
Oh, I thought it...
Join us June 23rd through the 25th to take part in all the fun. Don't miss a single show. For more information and scheduling, go to pride48.com.
I thought it was ORAL, aura.
Yes, we all know what you are.
And that, of course, was the multi-talented Auntie Vera. So, okay, getting back on track here. So, yes, we had a nice anniversary day, and let's see. Oh, yes, the other thing that we did besides going to the movies was we went out to dinner, and
We should. Before that, we should mention someone in the Toppy is talking about a tater tot substitute that instead of potatoes, they use cauliflower.
Oh.
Looks a lot like tots. But it says he hasn't tried them yet. Why not?
But I ain't I still haven't tried them yet.
I just thought that we might want to
Mention that.
in with your rice cauliflower and substitute mac and cheese.
Mm-hmm. So also the far away nearby will be joining the June streaming event next month, and the Duchess and I will be joining you just 1 hour short of our usual time slot. It's going to be on Saturday, June 24th at 4 p.m. And I don't have the full schedule in front of me yet, but I do believe that the Braindead podcast with the lovely TJ that we just interviewed recently will be on after us at 5 p.m. Eastern.
Oh, that will be wonderful.
Yes. So, okay. So, yes, we sort of did things a little bit in reverse on our anniversary. We went to the movies and then we went out to have a meal. We usually have lunch and we were a little later getting out. We went out to dinner and we went to Red Lobster, which isn't normally on our diet, but we made it work, as Billy would say. They do have options that you can do steamed items there. And now I know this isn't of interest to the Duchess because she's told me that Red Lobster is not a place she gets to go often that she enjoys.
It's true. The Duke is not very fond of Red Lobster.
That's a shame. I grew up with one nearby, and it's a place that we went to once in a while. Of course, having 4 kids in the family, it's not really always on the budget, but
yeah.
I was surprised we went, and I had a gift card from my sister Betty that we hadn't used, and we went out and we were able to navigate the menu and actually stay pretty close on our diet. And I was very impressed because our server actually observed some of Billy's food allergies. He told her that he was, he has a gluten allergy. And after she delivered the salad, she realized there were croutons and she immediately took it back. She not only didn't just bring back the same salad with the croutons removed, she had a whole new salad made.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
To her. And course, she earned
people allergic to stuff might break out in an anaphylactic shock or something. You don't want to have that happen.
Right. And this happened to be in a larger city than our hometown here. So I think maybe they might run into those things a little more often. But anyways, I'm trying to remember what we had for our meal. I do remember that we had one of my favorites, which is scallops. And let's see, we of course had a salad. And then, we had, I think we had sirloin strip steaks that were done very nicely. We had them done, I think, medium rare. I'm not quite sure, but they turned out good. The texture was nice. We don't often eat beef in our house. We are more chicken and fish. So it was a nice little treat. And of course, we skipped on the dessert because we had gone to the grocery store and we had our Halo Top already waiting for us in the car. So any true ice cream fan will tell you that you travel with spoons. So anyways, that catches us up on the weeks here. Let me play out that segment if I can get back to that screen. So, Sue, I think that you said you had something you wanted to talk about this week.
Well, yes, I happened to be flipping through YouTube a number of days ago, and one of the things that I happened to run into was some sort of a notification. I don't remember how I ran into it because this is not the things that I watch on YouTube, but I ran into a story that CoverGirl has a new model and their new spokesperson is a male.
Oh.
Now, I also understand that this is not as recent as I had thought. This new gentleman, who is their latest cover girl, I guess, or cover boy, as I have also seen it written in various places as I was looking this up. And I will look up his name here. James Charles was actually, they announced his becoming the face of CoverGirl on October 16th of 2016.
Oh.
So he is not quite brand new, as we are, I believe, in the spring of 2017.
Right.
So he's not brand new, but he has already managed to cause controversy for them. Apparently in February, he was going off with some classmates for some sort of an educational trip to Africa. And so just before he left on this trip, he managed to tweet, "I can't believe we're going to Africa today. OMG, what if we catch Ebola?"
Oh.
Which was not exactly what they intended for him to say.
I'm sure the Chamber of Commerce is thrilled.
I'm sure, and CoverGirl too. But of course, he apologized when he got to Africa. He realized that he had said this stupid thing, and that maybe he shouldn't have. And he wrote an apology back saying that he really didn't mean to do that. That it was that he was trying to make a joke, and he apologized that he really didn't feel that way about Africa because it's this wonderful country, he's sure. And I, of course, am going, what do you mean wonderful country? It's a bunch of countries. But 17-year-olds say and do all sorts of things. A number of 17-year-olds, I'm sure, think that Africa is a country. I know some people much older than that think that Africa is a country. I didn't inquire as to where they were going exactly, and I didn't really care. I do know that Sports Illustrated frequently does their swimsuit models in Africa because they have beautiful oceans, and since they're film those in the middle of our winters, it's a good place to go.
Yeah, two things come to mind when you talk about this. Firstly, I'm pretty sure CoverGirl, if they've decided to allow this young man to stay on, are going to assign somebody to monitor his tweets and possibly approve them before they go out.
I gather that they regularly monitor all of their spokespersons' tweets and other things they say on YouTube. Oddly enough, they found this young man on YouTube. He was something of an Instagram and YouTube star.
Oh.
Who he came out, I think, about a year before that as doing this. He is not trans. I don't think that he is gay either. I actually didn't see anything on that per se. He just likes to dress up and look like a beautiful young woman sometimes, and sometimes he just looks like a beautiful young man. But he certainly is very attractive.
So it's more along the lines of gender bending, not necessarily somebody being transsexual.
Pardon?
I said it's probably more along the lines of gender bending, much like David Bowie used to do,
Yeah.
versus being transsexual.
Yeah, I think so.
Hmm. And the other thing that comes to mind is, of course, if this young man is saying that Africa is a country, one has to wonder, does he even know his state capitals?
I don't know. I learned those when I was in the 5th grade. And we had one of our tests over the state capitals was to write them all down from memory.
Hmm.
But I don't remember when I studied Africa particularly.
I just remember that I was fortunate that in my generation, we had a number of people who had recently survived the history of going to war in Vietnam.
Hmm.
I had a number of teachers who had been in the Peace Corps.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate that as a result of that time frame, I had a number of people who'd actually seen something of the world. So I had a very wonderful history teacher that would do these pop quizzes where he would hand out these copies of continents, these maps, and
Hmm.
would ask for you to label the countries on that continent. It was a fun little thing, and he made it interesting because, he had
Yeah.
stories to share from his time overseas.
Yeah. Well, I don't. Well, obviously, I was a young adult. I was in high school in a year and college when Vietnam happened. So I didn't have those kind of experiences, but I know that we had maps on the wall in every class I had up through the 8th grade.
Hmm.
Now, when I started into the 9th grade, we're we were settled more. I mean, we never were in the same classroom twice in one day, and except for history classes, we didn't really have maps on the wall. But you could tell that they were colored maps with they were various kinds of maps, and there were frequently globes and what have you that you looked at. You could sort of tell that different continents had multiple countries on them. I mean, the
Right.
North American continent has the fewest countries of any continent on Earth, so to speak, well, except, of course, Australia, and maybe Greenland. Is Greenland still a continent?
I believe so. I don't
Yeah.
think it's divided.
Okay, those are single country continents, so I guess they have fewer countries than we do. I mean, we sort of had three countries on our continent.
And then history happens, suddenly
Yes.
and you've got a bunch of countries to memorize.
It's true. They and of course, once I had the countries of the world memorized, there was all this stuff changed in Africa. It seems to me that happened around the same time that, and I can't tell you that there were necessarily any wars that affected to it. It's just at the end of World War II sort of was bringing all that about, and some internal scufflings over there.
Hmm.
And of course, I was alive to see and can remember India, Pakistan, and God, and the little
Bangladesh.
Bangladesh. Thank you. And the little
Mhm.
tiny country breaking up. It seems to me that we lost that Pakistan and India separated first, and Bangladesh sort of fought harder and longer for their
Well,
independence.
I was going to say that kind of happens when you tell the empire to go home.
Well, yeah, the empire left, but the country didn't stay together too well.
Hmm.
But yeah, they of course, you know that the uncle, was it the uncle of Elizabeth Mountbatten? Was he the uncle, her uncle? He certainly wasn't a brother. She only had a sister. But
Right. I know.
Mountbatten is part of the family
Right. That was
somehow.
I want to say that was her mother's side.
Could
I was
be.
I was recently listening to a biography on the Queen.
Oh, well, that's it's probably fairly interesting, actually.
Well, yeah, actually, not to get political, but in light of recent events, I saw this wonderful meme, and it showed the Queen in her Range Rover, and I think it was in the Scottish Highlands in one of the palaces,
Hmm.
and it was talking about, of course, you know, uh, in light of current events or recent events, maybe, you know, 45 was visiting the Middle East. And this particular meme talked about when a Middle Eastern prince had come to visit England and the Queen was hosting him.
Hmm.
Of course, in many Middle Eastern countries over a course of time, there have been periods when women had fewer rights. And at this point in time, women were not allowed to hold driver's licenses in this prince's kingdom. So
Yes.
I understand it must have been quite a thing that he was not only hosted by the Queen, but she insisted on driving around. If you look hard enough, you can find this meme, but it's quite entertaining because apparently the Queen is no lightweight when it comes to driving around because she's an experienced driver. She drove during World War II.
Yeah, she drove an ambulance during World War II.
Hmm.
She was quite the active young lady.
So we are just over the hour from whence we started. We'll go on for another 10 or 15
Okay.
and, vacate the stream a little bit here.
Yes.
So let's see. Earl, and we talked
And
about weeks, and you wanted to say?
yes, I was going to also mention that since Covered Girl has now added a male to their lineup of spokespeople, so has Maybelline.
Oh,
And although none of you people may know about this or care, but I am a fan of American Girl dolls. An American Girl in 2017 has introduced a male doll named Logan Everett. They all come with their 18-inch dolls, and they're little girls. They're not baby dolls exactly, and his backstory is that he plays guitar or he plays the drums, and he is in Teeny Grant's band. Teeny Grant is another one of the dolls. They are both blonde-haired and blue-eyed. Now, not all of the dolls are blonde-haired and blue-eyed, but they have a number of ethnic dolls. They also announced this year a doll from Hawaii and a doll from another African American doll. They have historical dolls. They have dolls who were slaves. But this is the first male doll they've had. So, and they have little books that go along with these dolls and little craft things you can do with them. They're sort of a learning series book. I think they start their stuff at age 3 or 4. I don't know, but I've never had one of these dolls, and I've never actually owned one of the books. I have looked at books in the bookstores. I've read some of the books in the bookstores, and I have admired these dolls. I like 18-inch dolls. They're easy to make clothes for. I like to sew. It's a hobby of mine. I just had to mention that because I ran into that while I was looking up information about CoverGirl, and I just couldn't pass it by.
Yeah, Duchess Toppy has told us in the chat room that he collects demonic dolls mostly.
Oh, really? I don't think they have any demonic dolls. But
Oh,
the American Dolls are the series is rather interesting, and they've been out for they've been around for a long time, and when I first saw them when I was in college, I think I was very impressed with them because they had these historical. They started out with the historical series. And
mhm.
I think the second or third doll was an African American slave.
Hmm. So, now we know the secret. Toppy has demonic dolls. I wonder if Toppy could possibly partner with Brenda on this venture. He could maybe come up with some Pride 48 voodoo dolls.
Well, that's possible. Are we are we looking for voodoo dolls? These are dolls that we generally want to use to cause harm to people, don't we?
Well, that's all up to interpretation. You could
Well,
just.
you can also use them for healing, I guess. I really don't know very much about voodoo.
I think I've seen, along with the stress toys, they have little voodoo dolls that people can have at work.
Mm,
And they're just sort of a beanie baby kind of thing for you to squeeze when you're stressed
okay.
out at work. But I can just imagine having your favorite podcaster voodoo doll.
Yeah, I suppose. One of my when I worked at the university, one of the professors gave me a little squeeze toy that said "boss" across it. They thought that would be helpful. I don't know that it was.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and I moved it home when I quit work there.
hmm This is for our Scooby fan in the chat room.
Mm. Oh, yes.
So we just have a few more minutes. And
I have a Scooby fan in my audience as well.
oh, Duchess, you and I can stay behind for a little after,
Mhm.
but we'll wrap things up here. So, um, the next time you hear from us, we're going to have a special. And I'm afraid I don't have the music right now, but that's the beautiful thing of post production. I'll add it in. Um, we are going to be recording a very special episode that should be due out in a few weeks here. And we're going to be discussing the sci-fi British series Orphan Black, which is premiering its fifth and final season on June 10th. Now, this is a show that was starting while Matt Smith was still in the role on Doctor Who, and I used to see the advertisements for it, but of course, I never caught on. Now, I decided last year that I was going to start watching, and of course, unbeknownst to me, they decided this is going to be the final season. So, what wonderful timing, because now I can have the Duchess weigh in, and we're going to be joined by two very special guests, Mr. Toppy Smelly and Mr. Shayeti Paul Chandler, who happened to be in the chat room.
It's true. I did notice them there, and I must admit that I started watching Orphan Black at the very beginning
Mm-hmm.
and was quite interested in it. For some reason, I stopped watching it at the end of the second year, but in between when we decided to do this, and now I have watched all four seasons. Of
Oh,
course, I haven't watched the fifth season because it's
it
not
hasn't
here
aired
yet.
yet. I'm
And
excited about that because now I'll be able to watch a current season as it airs.
yes, and that should be interesting. Although I have found that I am kind of annoyed at television as we knew it, the once a week shows. I kind of like the oh, we are done. I kind of like the just being able to sit down and watch this whole whole series
Mm-hmm.
in like a weekend or a week or something. But of course, I have a leisurely schedule due to my rank retirement and stuff.
Your years of experience.
Yes.
in the kingdom.
Yes. So I have more time than many people have to do this, but
Well, it's interesting because a number of shows are original series on Netflix, and you have that luxury
Mhm.
to watch that whole season when it's released. Now, I haven't really partaken of that experience, but as I understand it, the new Star Trek series that'll be coming out this fall is going to be released in that fashion. Of course, you have to make a deal with the devil to pay for CBS to get it because you're only going to see the pilot on network television. But
Mhm.
they recently announced that they've increased the number of episodes from 12 to 15 for the first season, and
Wow.
going to have a companion after show. So they're trying to stir up some interest. And also they announced that the original producer that was supposed to be on board, a Brian Fuller, who's done a number of things in the horror world, I do believe.
Mhm.
I guess there was some sort of a falling out, but he is confirmed now to be chairing or heading up the second season of Star Trek Discovery when it comes out.
Mm.
So, but yes, our next episode is going to be about Orphan Black, and it really intrigues me because it has sort of that sort of Bond or 007 element to it because you've got a mystery and you've got people on the run. So in some ways, it's sort of like I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a series of movies based on books called The Born something or other, Born Identity, Born
Yeah.
Supremacy,
The
and those
Bourne.
sorts of things. And they were really fascinating because it was basically an assassin whose memory had been wiped, and he learns who he is as the story goes on. And in a similar fashion, the young women who are in the series Orphan Black learn a little bit more about the truth of their existence as time goes on. So
Yeah.
it's quite an interesting thing. So folks, if you will stay tuned, that will be our next recorded episode, and we hope to have that out, I would say hopefully before the streaming event mid-month. So anyways, Duchess, do you have any other thoughts you'd like to share?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Well, we are going to go ahead and play this show out. Thank you for joining us, and you'll be able to view the video on YouTube of our live shows every fourth Saturday. So, we are now going to say goodbye.
And it was good seeing you all.
Thank you for listening to Far Away Nearby.
Visit our webpage at tfnpodcast.com.
Find our fan page on Facebook and our companion blog on Tumblr.
This show is available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher Radio.
Email us at tfnpodcast@gmail.com.
Follow us on Twitter at TFNDJ.
And call or text us at 720-230-6919. This show is a member of the Pride 48 network.
Find other shows at pride48.com.
Okay, that ends the official YouTube broadcast.